Hey readers, I am right outside the Père Lachaise Cemetery entrance. I think this is the main one, and about to go in, obviously. I just want to let everybody know that what I'm going to try to do with this is I'm going to throw some facts, trivia, whatever, as I encounter things. I'll try to keep it interesting and complete. I do warn you, though, that any information I'm throwing in here, I've just looked up. So I'm not an expert on the cemetery. I'm not an expert on the namesake. So if there's ever anything that I get wrong or oversimplify, then hey, please feel free to throw a comment in. I don't mind that at all. Oh, and of course, the other warning is my French pronunciation is god awful. So, in fact, earlier I said Père Lachaise. I think that's correct, but I don't actually know. I'm certainly not being as nuanced as I could be. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do at least one circuit around, or as close as I can get to that. I'm going to point out specific things as I find them. Hey everybody, so the first tidbit is that I'm going to have to already go back on that whole, I'm going to do a circuit around. This place is gigantic. I just looked at a map, and it would probably take me hours, plural, to just do one walk around. So what I'm gonna do is sort of half seek out highlights, half see what happens. For example, right back here is the columbarium. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but I believe a columbarium is specifically a place for cremated remains. It is not a crematorium. Well, actually, I think this is a crematorium as well. Now, what I don't know is, does that mean that they actually cremate bodies here? I'm not sure. I've actually never been inside this, even though I have been in the cemetery before. So I'm going to check that out in a second. Now also, let's see if I get the angle right. I think it's, yes. So over here is a typical square, if you will, of graves, above ground graves. I'll get into that later. So I'll probably be doing at least a circuit around here, other places as well, but this will give you a taste of what this place looks like throughout the whole thing. First fun fact. Now this is not unique to Paris or France. I'm sure it's probably in the US as well all the time. I just happen to notice it here. On my way walking here, from the metro stop, there was a bistro that said Bistro Père, which technically means bistro father. I just thought that was neat because there's a tradition here of if something, usually a food place, is near some major monument or attraction, it won't say bistro of Père Lachaise Cemetery. It won't say the whole thing. It'll just say Père, Père. Kind of like near the Eiffel Tower. I think all of the nearby food places say tour. So, which basically just means tower. Actually, it doesn't basically just mean that. It does mean that. So, it'll say bistro tour. So anyway, so that's the one neat thing that I noticed already. Everything around here that's immediately around the cemetery is something Père. More on that later. So a bit of an update for everybody. I looked at the columbarium, and it has a huge sign out in front that says that a visit was reserved for families in mourning, and it said some note about while the work was going on, like restoration work. So I don't know if that is technically true, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that it is and not go inside there. So I figured I would just give you a shot of what I feel is a pretty typical, like I said, square here. These are all the graves. You'll notice a lot of like this one here. This is pretty typical. Just big old rectangular thing, and then you'll notice these ones, like this one over here. I'll get up to this closer. Are basically like mini monuments. I'm not going to bother these people, so I'm going to actually, I think, go to the other side. Because that's the thing, is you don't know who's here to visit, like me, and who's here to mourn. And I certainly don't want to bother anybody doing that. So here is sort of a typical monument one. In theory, if you are a member of the family, you can actually go inside, because you'll notice this is basically a little shrine. And, put flowers or whatever. I don't know who this is. I don't see a name. Oops. Oh. Okay, families. So that's another fun fact is, as far as I know, it is cemetery policy for these monument ones where I think you're basically renting it when you buy a plot, at least nowadays. You're renting it for like minimum 10 years up to 50, I think that's right. And what happens is after 10 years, they take your coffin out and they empty it of the bones, and I think they put it in an ossuary, and then they basically make room for someone else. So any number of things can happen. It can be family members, like different family members can literally be stacked on top of each other, or it can be you're taken out and then they rent it out to a completely separate family. Any number of things, and it's all because actually, let me check out this sign. Okay, this is just telling me where we are, which honestly doesn't make any real difference to me. I'm already lost with the numbers. But anyway, so the point of most of this stuff, most of these policies, is to keep space for new burials, because Père Lachaise is, I think, the most popular cemetery in Paris. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but it probably is. And as you can see, I mean, these things are all like right next to each other. And even these monument shrine types they're right next to each other. There is no room. So I imagine that anything that grants room is good. So I'm going to show you guys, I think, the rest of this side of this block, and then I will move on to other things. It's so funny. I honestly can't tell whoever's sitting on a bench whether they're here to mourn or just visiting, so I just choosing to avoid them entirely. It's really striking at how beautiful some of these monuments are. Like, some of them are just sort of, this one here, it's a big cross on top of a slab. But then some of them are like these little houses. I know it's very silly, but I like to call these houses of the dead. I also don't think it's really original. Oh, okay, I'm not going to go inside here, but in theory, that's what you could do. I don't know whether, I'm pretty sure that'd be considered disrespectful, and I don't want to do that. In fact, there's a sign that I didn't show you guys at the entrance, which is giving all kinds of information, and among them is they show a little circle, the traditional "don't do this" circle with a slash through it, where it shows someone sitting on a grave. So I'm guessing somebody did that at some point. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and shut this off for now, and I'll meet you guys up the next interesting tidbit. All right, everybody, it is trivia time. So I had to re-look this up because I couldn't remember. The name Père Lachaise, as I said, Père just means father. So that's as in priest. Lachaise, actually, La Chaise, that means the chair. There's nothing significant about that. Unfortunately, I was very disappointed to find. So who was he? He was the confessor of Louis XIV, and that's honestly all I'm going to share with you right here, because there's a whole history, but it actually doesn't have a lot to do with the cemetery itself. So it would just be, you'd be bored. Interesting trivia, though. Actually, not really trivia. Okay. You might be wondering, and I have definitely wondered myself, looking at all these graves and the monuments, why are they all above ground? As far as I know, all of them are. I may be wrong about that. There may be a few that are below ground, but as you can see, almost all of them. And certainly anything you can see within view of the camera. Well, I actually haven't found a very clear answer to this, but I will try to explain as I've understood it. So, as you guys know from my catacombs visit, there was, I'm trying to think of how to put this the shortest possible way. So in the early part of the modern era, say 18th, 19th centuries, there was a huge overflow crisis of the cemeteries in Paris. One of the solutions to that was just emptying those cemeteries and putting the bones in the catacombs. There was at one point a law passed, I think in the end of the 18th century, basically saying there couldn't be no more church burials within the city. There could be, and in fact, I think it was extended. I think there could be no more burials within the city. Now, you have to remember the city at that point was much, much smaller than it is now. It was like, a fraction of the size it is now. But that was the idea, was that, like, there's too many people, too many corpses. But it's actually also specifically about health because, as you might recall, the Innocent Cemetery, which is no longer there, it was paved over, etc. That one was so full and so grotesque and so disgusting that it actually exploded into the basement of a nearby house. And that was, pretty much the big reason why the city then said, you know what, we need to do something about this. Well, so kind of concurrent with that was the notion, obviously, that burials underground were not sanitary, that they had affected the groundwater and, various other things related to that. So the reasons that you'll see if you look this up will be like, oh, above ground burial equals healthier burial. In my opinion, it probably was inspired by this, absolutely, but then I think it just became tradition, and then that's just what they do, because obviously sanitary practices have improved since the end of the 18th century, 19th century, etc. And the church is no longer involved. The cities, by royal decree, took over burials and the care of burial sites in the same era. So, as far as I can tell, there's no reason other than we like doing it that still is relevant today. Now, again, as I said earlier, if this is wrong and you happen to know what's going on, then please feel free to leave a comment and correct me, but it kind of looks like that's the reason. So anyway, I'm going to give you another little look around at behind me and around me. And then I will continue on to, I think I'm going to try to find some more famous graves for you guys. Okay. All right, that's enough of that. Now on to the more famous ones. Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry for keeping my hand in front. I'm trying to grip the camera in a reasonable way. Okay, anyway, on to the next thing. Okay, I figured I'd give you guys some more main cemetery walking along stuff. Oh, that's pretty. Must be an entire family. So I don't know if you've heard in the background, there are crows everywhere. I don't get this. There must be a nest up there because for the last 2 minutes I've been hearing nothing but crows just constantly cawing. Weird. I've actually always wondered why there are such associations between crows and the dead, cemeteries specifically. I don't know. But yeah, anyway. Okay, I'm going to have to orient myself. Sorry this shot is so short, but I need to figure out, I have a destination for the next one, but I need to make sure that I'm going the right way because it is very easy to get lost here. So see you in a second. Okay, remember how I said every grave here was above ground? Obviously I was wrong about that. I don't see the details of this, as in a name or designation, but that's obviously a hole, and it's obviously underground. So if that is a grave, then it is obviously underground. If it's not a grave, I don't know what the hell it is, because it's clearly part of the structure. I was actually going to show you guys, this area is really pretty. There's all these trees. Look at all this. You can probably hear the wind blowing, and the weather got actually much better, which is, for me, ironic because it was much cloudier earlier, as you probably saw, and I was really delighted by that because, hey, there's nothing like a cloudy, gloomy cemetery, and now the sun's kind of peeking through, so I'm like, oh man, why does it have to be prettier? Anyway, I'm going to continue on my journey. Assuming that I edited this the way that I intended, you saw two pictures of Frédéric Chopin's, again, sorry, I sound so pretentious. I'm trying to pronounce them correctly. Chopin's grave, and I would have actually done this there, but it's kind of remarkable how popular that gravesite is. The time that I was there, I think 3 different groups moved in and started taking pictures, and I think it was one tour group, so I didn't want to interrupt any of that. But I will give you a little bit of history, personal history. So I took piano lessons from age 5 to I think 20, 21. I'm not sure. I was into college. It was deep into college. I was okay. I think there's like 2 recordings of 2 pieces that are pretty good. I never had any aspirations to become professional. But anyway, along that journey, I think I was a teenager when I played some Chopin. And God, sorry. Okay, I'm just gonna say Chopin. I just feel like such a schmuck. I don't remember which pieces they were. I don't remember whether I enjoyed it, but I do remember. Well, okay, that's kind of lying. I do remember enjoying it, but I don't remember why. I don't remember what the pieces were. I don't remember their names. I don't remember anything about the music. And around the time that I was playing him, the movie, oh God, what was it called? Impromptu, I think it was called, came out, which was kind of an early, biopic-ish of him and his lover, girlfriend, whatever. Oh God, whose name I can't remember. I know this is really bad. I mean, she was a very famous writer at the time. And so while I was playing him, I saw this biopic of him and this lady and all that stuff. And I remember my music teacher was pretty annoyed at the movie. And she basically was like, oh, they Hollywoodized it. That wasn't really what happened. Which, maybe that's true. Maybe it was Hollywoodized. But basically, the Chopin kind of coalesced in my life around, 2 different sources at the same time. So I knew I was coming today, and I thought, oh, I should totally check him out. And I did, but like I said, it's pictures because I didn't want to interrupt anybody. You might have noticed just a few seconds ago that I got a quick little glimpse of what looked like an open grave. It's actually the 3rd one I've seen. This is an accident. I didn't intend to grab that. And the previous 2 that I saw, I intentionally did not grab because, again, I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't know what people consider respectful or disrespectful in terms of the open graves. But as I mentioned earlier, with they wait till the body decomposes and then they take the bones out. I suspect that the 2 that I saw in that one were intentionally opened by the caretakers of the cemetery in order to put another grave in there. Or, excuse me, another grave, another body. I'm not sure about that, but that seems like a likely cause. And now I'm lost, so I'm going to go ahead and check my map. All right, see you guys in a second. So with the magic of editing, you guys saw that was Jim Morrison's grave. I am admittedly not a giant Doors fan. There's like 2 or 3 songs I think are really great. And I don't know if any of you guys are giant Doors fans, but I figured he's easily the most famous resident of the cemetery, so I figured I would at least, grab a picture of him so that if you were looking to see it, you could see it. I don't know if everybody noticed, but he was actually behind quite a bit of fencing, that whole little area. So not only were there people there, which is why I took a picture rather than this, but it was fenced, so I couldn't have gotten close anyway, and there's no benches nearby. And now I'm going to look for, I think, 2 other things while I give you just general, pretty cemetery shot. And then I'll probably just give you some more general stuff as I walk around, because Chopin and Morrison were my 2 big goals. Luckily, they weren't too far from each other. But yeah, I think after this next big thing that hopefully I can find, then like I said, general stuff, and then I'll take my leave. Maybe we'll see. See how I feel about it. All right, see you guys in a second. So this is Oscar Wilde's grave. I took a picture a second ago in case I couldn't get this, but it looks like I can. In case it's not very clear from the picture of the video, there's a glass wall surrounding it because it's Oscar Wilde. And there's actually a little sign right on the right side of the glass. It says, like, basically, don't touch it. The upkeep is the responsibility of the family. So the reason I wanted to grab him was he was definitely a master of turning the phrase I've actually not read much of his work. I've read Dorian Gray, I think one other story, and thoroughly enjoyed his work as a wordsmith, as in, he sure knew how to string words together. I would almost say that he was a man who was in love with the crafting of words. So I just realized that this is just me talking over a mostly still shot of the grave. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this one off. I'm going to look up the last thing that I wanted to find, but actually I got a notification from my phone that I've only got 20% left, and now it's probably like 15%. So I'll do the best I can, but this may be close to the end. So I will see you guys again soon. Hey, so I thought I'd charge my phone for a little bit, and I found this bench, so I was like, yes, right on, because actually my feet are really starting to hurt. So the last two things I was looking for, I couldn't find, or I kind of could, but it looks like it's going to take some work to get to them, so I've decided to go ahead and not do that, but to not leave everybody hanging. I was going to try to find the oldest grave here. I was reading this article that the two people, it was like they died in like 1142 and 1162 or something like that, which is obviously pretty old. And I was trying to look for an easy reference to where they were, but I wasn't finding it. And like I said, my phone, it's slowly dying, and I wanted to save time and space for whatever else I wanted to actually grab for you guys. So I figured, you know what, I'll sacrifice the oldest grave, because actually I didn't even see a reference to where it was, so I wasn't about to hunt the whole cemetery. Like I said at the beginning of this, it's gigantic. The other thing was, interesting fact, and again, I'm not an expert on this, so I may get some of this wrong, but for quite a long time in Paris, and I'm guessing Europe, it was, I believe, not just tradition, but also law, although I'm not sure about that last part, for people of different faiths to be buried separately. So when the cemetery first opened, they had a Jewish section, and then years and years later, they changed the law, in fact, prohibiting segregated burial. So there had been a section, it had actually been walled off, it had been very specifically designated, and then when this new law passed, they destroyed the wall, and then they actually moved many of the graves elsewhere. So what I was going to try to do is find some of those graves, or one of them anyway, of a Jewish deceased, because I just wanted to see if the style of tomb was significantly different from the other ones that I've seen, but I couldn't find any quick reference as to where it was. In fact, I think I'm pretty near the entrance now, so what I'll probably do is look to see if there's anything that's nearby the entrance that I find of interest for me and possibly for you guys. But that entrance sign, which I haven't shown you, but was, when I first came in, obviously, it had all of the information. It had, a list of people, it had a map, it had everything, but I haven't seen anything like that anywhere else. So I suspect that if I were to go to another exit, I would find something similar, but the only exit I've been to has been that one. So anyway, I'm going to grab you guys some more of just, the general graves as I head towards the exit. And then, like I said, if I find anything on the map that looks really amazing, I'll show you that. Otherwise, I'll do a quick wrap up outside. So stay tuned for some more grave looking. I thought it might be interesting for you guys to see that, excuse me, the cemetery is, as I've described earlier, it's smack dab in the middle of the city. So to the right, I'm at, I think, the eastern border. There's obviously just, buildings, and it's regular old Paris just sitting there. Whereas on the left side, you can't see anything right now very clearly, but here's a big monument. I don't know what this is for. Look at that. You got some big old houseman buildings right there. Actually, it looks like this section, there aren't many graves like right next to the road, which I'm kind of embarrassed to show you because there ain't much to look at except for these pretty buildings right here. I think I'm actually really close. Oh, in fact, here we are. I am. So I'm going to show you a little bit of the entrance from this side. And then I'll take a look at that map, but obviously I won't bore you with doing that. Yeah, it's really pretty right here. I really like this stairway up to this section up here, which I don't actually know the significance of the section. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and, oh yeah, here's the entrance is right there on the right, where you'll see people coming in. Okay, I'm gonna go take a look at that map and see if there's anything else, and I'll see you guys in a second. So I've got some good news and some bad news, everybody. The good news is that here is some more footage of graves. The bad news is that I looked at the map and there were what they considered notable burials nearby, but I honestly, they were just a bunch of French people that I didn't recognize the name of, and I was certainly not going to hunt them down so that you could see them, because while you may know who they are, I absolutely do not. And yeah, my feet are telling me I'm about done here. But before I go, oh, I wanted to point these out earlier. These little, I think they're like lanterns. I had seen, I think 3 earlier, and at first, because I'm visually impaired, I thought they were jack-o'-lanterns. And I was like, wow, I didn't think Halloween was a thing here. And on closer inspection, I saw, no, they were not even remotely jack-o'-lanterns. They were just little lantern globes. So also, I wanted to tell you guys a very, very, very brief anecdote. When I was looking for Oscar Wilde, I was legit scared for a second. So I was hiking along what Google Maps was telling me, the path to go to get to Wilde. And most of it was, well, like this, you know, it was an actual path, even more formal, like paved. And then I got to this section where the path on my phone, the Google path, said to go a certain way, but it was definitely among the graves. Like it was, you know, like if I were to walk through here, and it was actually not 100% clear to me where a grave was and where just regular ground was. So I was hesitant to hike through that because, you know, I don't want to step on anybody's grave, even unintentionally. Like, you know, this area here is pretty easily designated. You know, there's the lighter colored stone and then there's the dirt. And so I feel comfortable walking between here because I'm confident that I'm not walking on anybody's grave. But at this other place, it wasn't as clear. And also, just the fact that I was off of a clear path kind of creeped me out because I thought, you know, closing time is not too far from now, although at the time it was. So, you know, I'm going to caught in here and blah, blah, blah. But also, I was walking along, getting out of that immediate area, trying to find an actual path. And then, so anyway, I was heading onto a path-like area that looked like a path, and I felt myself trip, and I was aware enough to know that I was in fact falling forward. I thought I could sort of out-stumble the trip, but I was wrong. So I came down and I ate cemetery dirt, man. Not literally, thankfully. I didn't get a mouthful of dirt, but I caught myself with my hands. But yeah, I came face down. And for a split second, I thought, oh my God, wouldn't it be awful if just to make this video for you guys, just to visit Père Lachaise for Halloween, that I actually, because I had already seen the open graves earlier, and I showed you, you know, one of those in some earlier footage. I thought, wouldn't it be just fantastic if I actually fall into a grave and like get stuck here or whatever, and I'm not discovered for days, and I can't now, of course, as the longer that this second long thought lasted, the more ridiculous it was. Because like, well, first of all, graves aren't that deep. I mean, look at this. This is above ground. It's not, you know, that's not going to happen. Second of all, even if it is deep, it's not going to be impossible to climb out. Third, there's people whose jobs it is to, you know, walk along these various roads and whatnot to make sure that, you know, they've gotten the visitors out. But still, for just the moment, I was like, oh no. Okay, so anyway, I think this is the last bit, so I'll let these 3 here be the last actual graves you guys see. I will see you outside. All right, everybody, that is it. I am outside. You can see the entrance right there, just as before. I hope you enjoyed the fraction that I saw. Like I said earlier, I completely underestimated how big that cemetery is, and I frankly probably only covered a quarter of it, if that much. And that's not even what you saw, that's what I walked around. What you saw was probably an 8th or 16th. Yeah, I wish I could have found a couple of other things that I've been looking for, but I know what I was going to say. If after watching this you think of some grave that you would like me to see, like you look up somebody and you're like, oh wow, look at that, I didn't know they were buried in Père Lachaise, then hey, send me an email, send me a message over Facebook. I'm happy to come back here. Now, I would probably have to collect a few requests. I'm not going to, it's a pretty good distance away from where I live, so I'm not going to come back literally every single time that I get one. But, you know, if I get like 5, and, you know, I will absolutely come back and I'll shoot it for you, and, you know, we'll make a whole big thing out of it. So yeah, that's it. Père Lachaise Cemetery. I actually, I was going to tell you guys, so fun fact, well, actually not that fun. So I think all Parisian cemeteries they're obviously open during the day. I think they all close at 6 in the summer. So I'm actually not too far away from the closing time, and as you see, you know, there's people coming out. So it is not possible to do like, you know, overnight stays or, you know, nighttime tours or anything. Now, that's not to say that people don't ignore the law. They probably do, but at least officially speaking, there's nothing like that. So I couldn't, unfortunately, take you on a nighttime tour of it. And actually, honestly, I'm so creeped out by this stuff anyway that I wouldn't want to do that. So yeah, final thoughts. I just wanted to let you guys know that as of this recording, although not of the editing, I'm sure, as of the recording, Down is fresh out on Amazon. I think it's been out for 2-3 weeks. So hey, pick up one of those, and if you've read it, then hey, reviews or ratings are always welcome. Also, the pre-orders the pre-order for Felker Ward is live as of this recording. It's been live for I think a few days. So if you read and enjoyed The Curse of Braddock Mansion, Felker Ward is the second part of that story. It's probably going to be out in spring, although I'm not sure about that. So yeah, grab your pre-order so that as soon as it comes out, you will get it. I'm not going to set pre-orders yet for the 3rd book because, well, I haven't even started that one. But yeah, and of course, if you haven't noticed, I have now packaged Arena, Cenote, and Down into the Horror in Paradise series. They're thematically related, if not narratively, so if you're interested in the one that you might have read, you'll be interested in the others. Check it out. And actually with that, I guess my left arm is really starting to hurt, so I'm switching arms here. So anyway, I don't know when I'll get this out. I hope to have it out by Halloween. I'm not sure about that. Don't hold me to that, but I will try. If so, happy Halloween. If it's after that, happy former Halloween, and I'll see you guys in the newsletter, on the page, in group, and you know, next live streams. So have a good one, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.